And here is the Writer's Almanac for Friday. It's the 12th of July, 2019. It's the birthday of Julius Caesar, born in Rome around 100 BC, a great military leader who captured for the Roman Empire most of what became France and Great Britain. And he wrote about his triumphs on the battlefield, and his writing turned him into a national hero. He came back to Rome. The Roman Senate was very leery of Caesar, told him to lay down his military command, but he did not. He crossed the Rubicon River with his army, challenging the authority of the Senate. There was a civil war, which was won by Caesar, though he was outnumbered. He was merciful to his opponents. He wanted them to become his allies, and that may have been his biggest mistake, because it was a group of those men he spared who began to conspire against him and who killed him. He was an absolute dictator of Rome, and the Roman Republic that the Senate represented never returned. Rome was ruled by a series of emperors for the rest of its existence. It's the birthday of the poet Pablo Neruda, born in Parral, Chile, in 1904. When he was 19 years old, he sold all his possessions in order to publish his first book, Crepusculario, Twilight. Pablo Neruda, who always wrote in green ink because he believed it was the color of hope. It's the birthday of Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau, Concord, Massachusetts, 1817, went to Harvard, then worked in his father's pencil factory. He taught for a while, but he resigned because he didn't want to beat his students, which was traditional back then. He went to work for Ralph Waldo Emerson, moved into Emerson's house, tutored his children, and after he accidentally burned down 300 acres of woods near Concord, he decided to go out and live in the woods. And on July the 4th, 1845, he entered the woods living in a cabin he had built there near Walden Pond. Lived there 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days, cultivating beans, eating fish and salt pork and woodchuck, and writing in his journal. It took him almost 9 years to work up his journal into a book. Walden came out in 1854, in which he wrote, "I wanted to live deep and suck all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms." It was on this day in 1389 King Richard II appointed Geoffrey Chaucer to the position of chief clerk of the King's Works in Westminster, which came with a good salary, £30 per year, but a very heavy workload. Chaucer had to supervise the building, the maintenance of a number of royal projects, including the Tower of London and Westminster Palace. But it gave him the chance to travel widely and to meet people of many different social classes, and probably was a help in enabling him to write his great work, The Canterbury Tales. Here's a poem by Joyce Sutphin entitled How We Ended Up Together. He was good in an emergency, calm in the middle of a storm. Accidents didn't surprise him. He was always ready for whatever came along. You could count on him. You could make a deal, and he would keep it even if you couldn't. His deals were impossible. His deals were meant to make you fail, and failing, you found yourself in some sort of emergency, some place you didn't want to be, and he was good at getting you back to the ground, back to your feet. I chose him for what he could not give me, and he chose me because I would not ask until I was desperate and only he could help. A
poem by Joyce Sutphin, How We Ended Up Together, from Naming the Stars, published by Holy Cow Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.